Welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, September the 20th. Only a few short days left in summer. Hopefully you had a great summer and are going to have a good fall. My name is Shawn King. Thank you guys very much for joining me here on the live version of the show or the archive, however you choose to listen to the show. As always, on tonight's show, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim's posted up on The Loop two reviews, actually three reviews. One of the Apple Watch Cellular Edition and one of the iPhone 8 and iPhone 8 Plus. Did you pre-order yours? Are you going to pre-order one? Are you going to get one? Or are you going to hold off for the big, beautiful iPhone 10? I don't know. I can't afford any of them. But I think if I do get one, it's going to be the iPhone 10. Just because, excuse me, oh my goodness. Just because, if for no other reason, it feels like the iPhone 10 is more future-proof. I know it's not true chip-wise, because the A11 Bionic, stupid name, is in all three of the new phones. But I get the feeling that the facial recognition, the OLED screen, all that other stuff is future-proof more so than the 8 and the 8 Plus. That being said, I'd flip it for the iPhone in 2 more years anyway. So, I definitely want one of the new phones. My old iPhone 6 Plus, which is a great phone, but it's 2 years old now, and I really want the new camera gear, especially the portrait mode stuff and the new portrait lighting stuff. I really want to play around and test that kind of stuff, because I think it'd be really, really cool to play around with those features. So what about you guys? On air at yourmaclifeshow.com. Have you pre-ordered an iPhone 8 or 8 Plus? What colors do you like? Why have you chosen the 8 or 8 Plus over the iPhone 10? Waiting for it. Is cost an issue? And the iPhone 10 is not going to be cheap. It doesn't matter where you are, it's not going to be a cheap phone to buy. So I'd be curious to know what you guys think. Send me emails to onair at yourmaclifeshow.com. So we'll talk to Jim about his two reviews and see what he has to say about the Apple Watch Cellular Edition and the iPhone and iPhone S. In our Starting Point Photography segment, thanks to the nice folks at Lowepro, who are sponsoring the segment this month, makers of great camera bags. We're going to be talking about being a photographer. John Kordick on Twitter made a comment that I'm going to read out to you guys, and we'll talk about it. About the idea of the being a photographer in the sense of the mindset of being a photographer, as opposed to the gear or the lighting or the composition of that kind of stuff. I'm going to talk about thinking like a photographer and thinking about being a photographer, as opposed to, well, I guess, not one of those things. So we'll talk about that stuff in the Lowepro Starting Point Photography segment coming up a little. Those of you who have followed the show for years know that quite often my life is a mess. Quite often, though, it's kind of a funny mess. Here's the funny mess that happened to me on, I think it was Sunday. So, I'm a delivery driver for a large supermarket here called Save on Foods. We do door-to-door grocery delivery. So I'm delivering to this lovely young lady in downtown Vancouver. I've delivered to her several times. She's a student at Simon Fraser, and she's working in public policy. She's really interesting. And because she's a student, there's no supermarket downtown, so she gets her groceries delivered. It's fine. And so I drop off the groceries to Rachel. I come back out to the truck. I'm in the truck, and for those folks who aren't familiar with Vancouver, the downtown east side of Vancouver is an unpleasant place, to say the very least. It is nasty. It is dirty. That is supposedly the most crime-ridden neighborhood in all of Canada. It's just not, it's where a lot of homeless are, where a lot of drug dealers are, drug users are. It's nothing to see people shooting up in the alleyways in downtown Vancouver. So that's the neighborhood I'm in. So this bum comes up, homeless guy comes up and knocks on the window. And I'm like, yeah. He said, there's a lady down here who's trapped in the building. I'm like, Sounds like a scam to me. And the old guy, so I roll the window down a little bit, and I hear this little teeny tiny voice, help me, help me. And so I'm thinking to myself, I'm about to get mugged. I can just, this is going to be a mugging. It's going to happen. I get out of the truck, lock the truck up. I go down to the door that the homeless guys point me to, and there's this little tiny Filipino woman with her fingers in the grate of the door, and the door is locked on both sides. And it's one of those doors that you need a keypad to get in. And I said, what's wrong? In her very, very broken English, she eventually managed to make me understand that she'd gone into the coffee shop of the building on the next block to go to the bathroom, and she got turned around in the back area of the store, ended up going down a flight of stairs and through a door that locked behind her, but then she couldn't get out to the back alley street because that door locked too from the inside. So the poor little lady couldn't get back the way she came, and she couldn't go forward. So I said, okay, it was at the coffee shop. Okay, I'll go up to the coffee shop. So I walk around the block, halfway down the block, and then up a block, and then over another half block to the coffee shop. I walk into the coffee shop, and there's this young lady serving coffee. And I said, excuse me, one of your customers is trapped downstairs in your entry, in your alleyway, entry doors thing. And this little Japanese girl looks at me like, I said, you've got a customer who remember the customer who went to the bathroom? She got turned around the wrong way and is now trapped downstairs. Getting up a blank stairs. Well, this little Japanese girl at the counter doesn't speak very good English. So she didn't know what I was doing, what I was talking about. So I spent like a minute trying to explain to this woman, this young lady, what's going on and that she has to go down there. I said, is there a manager around? There's customers in the store, in the coffee shop, so the counter girl can't leave. And I'm like, I didn't want to call 911 because it's not a huge emergency. I said to the Japanese girl, never mind, I'll go get her and explain. So I go to walk into the back of the store. And now, the little Japanese girl goes, no, stop. And I look at her, she goes, no, stop. She said, I'll call police. I'm like, okay, go ahead, call the police. By the time they get here, I'll have saved the little Filipino woman. So it just so happens, and this is where my luck turns. There were 4 motorcycle cops that just pulled up outside. She runs to the front door. He robbed me. And I'm like, no. One of the cops jumps off his bike, runs in the store. Sir, stop. Officer, no, sir, just stop right there. Officer, put your hands up. Oh, crap. And now I know from experience of being arrested that whatever happens in the next 5 minutes, don't do anything. Because the cop is trained to get the situation under control. Just to do whatever he needs to get it under control. And you can help him by not doing anything. By doing whatever he says. So the cop says, put your hands up. And I'm like, oh, my hands up. Put your hands on top of your head. And hands on top of my head. Turn around. I turn around. And I can hear the cop walk up behind me, and he grabs the fingers, and he pats me down. He goes, do you have any ID? I said, no, officer, I've left it in the truck. He said, what's going on? I said, there's one of her customers over there is trapped downstairs over there. And the cop said, what are you talking about? I said, can I show you? He said, okay, but I got to handcuff you. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? He said, I got to handcuff you. Oh, all right. So the cop handcuffs me. So now I'm standing there in this coffee shop in a Save-On Foods jacket, coat and jacket, handcuffed, and we're going downstairs. We go through one door. I told the cop, don't let the doors close behind us because that's how this shit happened. He says, so he blocks the door open. We go down a hallway and then down another set of stairs, through another door. I said, don't let the door lock behind us. And now we can hear the little lady going, help me. I said, officer, that's her down there. He opens up the door. The little Filipino lady sees me, runs over and gives me a big hug. Oh, thank you, you saved me. And the cop is looking at me like, oh. I said, yeah, dude. This is what I was trying to tell you. So we all go back upstairs, and the cop then gets one of his other cop buddies who speaks Japanese to explain to the sales girl what I was trying to do and what had happened with the Filipino. I go, oh my God. So finally the cop uncuffed me and apologized. And I said, there's no need for an apology. It was just misunderstanding. And so we go back down. I go back. I leave the store. The Japanese girl gives me a free coffee. Yeah, thanks very much. And I take my free coffee and wave to the cops as I walk outside. And one cop is telling the other cop what's going on. I go back down to my truck. I get into the truck, and the phone is ringing. And it's our customer service people from the company. And they start bitching at me that I'm late for my next order. I'm like, no, don't bitch at me for being late. I was trying to save this little Filipino lady. Oh, my God. Folks in the NFC chat room is saying, thank crap you still have cops who don't kill unarmed people before they ascertain the situation. At least you can get a parking ticket. I didn't get a parking ticket because I was parked legally, so that was a good thing. But oh my goodness, that's just the kind of luck I have. I try to be a nice guy. I try to help out this little old Filipino lady, and I get detained by Vancouver's finest. Oh, dear. It's just so funny that kind of stuff happens to me on a regular basis. You guys who've known me for years know that this kind of goofy, weird stuff happens all the freaking time to me. Oh, dear. Anyway, later on in the show, in our Starting Point Photography segment, brought to you by the nice folks at Lowepro, lowepro.com. If you need a new camera bag, check out lowepro.com. They've got a wide variety of sling bags, which I really like, backpacks, briefcases, messenger bags, all kinds of things at lowepro.com. They've actually even got a bag finder. So you go to a website and you just answer some questions and they'll tell you what's the best bag for you. They have bags that fit, that have laptop compartments, iPad compartments, all kinds of camera gear compartments, and they're very adjustable. My favorite bags are the one from the folks at Lowepro. In the Starting Point Photography segment, we're talking about being a photographer. Not about gear, not about composition, not about light, but the mental aspects of photography. And hopefully that'll help you guys be better photographers. But up next, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim has 2 reviews up on loopinsight.com. One for the iPhone Cellular Edition, the Apple Watch Cellular Edition, and the other for the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus. Again, are you going to get either one of those iPhones or an Apple Watch? Is that on your Christmas shopping list? Send me an email to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. We'll talk to Jim right after this break. This is Your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining me here on this Wednesday evening. In our phone now, we've got our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Shawn. How are you?
Good, thanks. Let's talk about your two reviews. You've got two of them up on the website, loopinsight.com. Let's talk first about the Apple Watch Series 3 with cellular that you got from the nice folks at Apple. Is there anything that surprised you about the new Apple Watch?
How good the cellular was.
It was interesting to read. Tell the story that you about your test with you and your dad.
So, I wanted to go somewhere that wasn't, completely quiet, but, wasn't just horns blazing and everything, too. So we went to the financial district of San Francisco, and down by the Embarcadero, AT&T Park area.
Yeah.
And just... he walked one way, I walked the other way, and he called me a couple minutes later, and I answered on my watch, and I held it up about chest high, and he said he could hear me just fine. And I was stopped and talking to him. He said it sounded really good. So then I put my hand down by my side and just started walking as I normally would and kept talking to him. And he said, I still sounded fine.
Now that part about your review confused me. So you're basically, the Apple Watch is now down by your hip, right?
Right. I'm walking as I normally would.
So are you talking to your dad by your AirPods?
Nope. I'm talking to him. I'm walking and talking to him.
Okay, I got to call bullshit on that.
No,
that doesn't sound like it's possible.
I absolutely agree. It does not.
Because that means the watch is a good at least 2 feet, if not 3 feet away from your mouth.
Yes.
That's wild.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
I will agree.
So,
but that's what happened. So after I did that, of course, I looked like a moron walking down the street. I didn't even have headphones in my ears, and I'm talking.
Yeah, but you already look like a homeless person anyway, so everyone ignored you.
Yeah. So the only part about that was that it was harder for me to hear him, although I still could. It was harder for me to hear him because my arm was, walking, so it was down by my side.
Interesting.
But I could still do it.
Yeah.
And then as a final test, I put my AirPods in, and we did a call like that. And he said, that was perfect. Vocals were incredible then. Of course, that makes sense.
Now, to be clear, where was your iPhone at this time?
About 30 miles away.
So you left your iPhone at home to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Did you use Siri to initiate the phone call, or did your dad call you?
No, I didn't use Siri. I just went into the call app. So I called him once.
Okay.
So if on the screen of the Apple Watch, there's a phone button.
Yep.
I just press the phone button and it comes up and gives you options like, recent phone calls or whatever. So I did that and just called him.
I think that was the most surprising aspect of your Apple Watch review, was just that little test that you and your dad did, especially the idea that even with it 3 feet away from your mouth, your dad could hear you, even though you were having problems hearing him, which is understandable, but your dad could still hear you on a fairly busy street.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was traffic and cars and, stuff like that. But like I said, it wasn't, like downtown San Francisco on Market Street where they were blasting horns and all that. But yeah, there was traffic going by. He said at one point he could hear a little bit of wind noise. And the only time he heard that was when I was walking and moving my arm back and forth.
Yeah.
So, nothing major.
Now, there is some issue. You posted a story on The Loop about this with regards to seemingly a fairly minor
Bless you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Or odd bug with it connecting to the LTE networks and Wi-Fi hotspots. But that's something Apple says they know about, they will fix soon, correct?
Right. Now, let's be clear about that. I think Serenity Caldwell did the best job of explaining this. So,
Agreed.
But let's be clear on a couple of points. This is not an LTE bug.
Okay.
This is a Wi-Fi bug. So what happens is your watch picks up all known authenticated networks that you've connected to on your iPhone.
Yes.
Your watch picks those up and keeps track of those. So the very first place your watch will try and connect is to your phone.
Yes.
If your phone is not available, it scans through its Wi-Fi networks that it got from your phone.
Okay.
It scans through those Wi-Fi networks and says, oh, here's the Wi-Fi network. I'm going to connect to that, and I'll do all my phone calls and everything over IP. If it can't find a known Wi-Fi network, it will then connect to cellular.
Okay.
So here's what happens in this bug. It looks for your phone, and it can't find your phone. But on your phone, at some point, you've gone to Starbucks and connected to their free Wi-Fi. But in order to connect, you have to click an interface.
Yeah, that done button or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to agree to that. I think McDonald's is the same thing.
Yep.
So you have to actually click a button to say accept.
Yes.
Hotel Wi-Fis are the same way. So if your watch finds one of these networks, it'll connect to it. It doesn't know that it has to go through this acceptance page.
Yep.
So it stays connected to the Wi-Fi network instead of skipping it and saying, no, I'm going to connect to cellular instead,
Yep.
which is its third option. So that's what the bug is. Yes, it is a bug, and yes, Apple has to fix it. But people were mistaking it for an LTE bug, when the actual problem is the Apple Watch will not let go of a network that requires some interaction.
But isn't this a weird kind of bug for Apple not to know about? I mean, this is a known issue with, as you said, with Wi-Fi. I've seen it happen before with my devices. But it means that nobody at Apple tested this out after they went to a Starbucks.
Well, look, both John Gruber and I didn't have this issue.
Yes.
Now, why is that? Because I don't connect to those networks.
That's right.
Because I like my devices as they are, and I don't want everybody that's in Starbucks going through my computer.
Yes.
So I don't have that issue. I never had that issue with testing my watch because I don't have those networks in my known networks. So I could walk past a Starbucks and my watch would not connect
Yes.
to the Starbucks network because it's not a known network for my phone.
And I understand
or my
that,
watch.
but it is for other people. This is how other people use these devices. So why didn't Apple test for this?
No, I get that. I get that. I'm just saying. I had a couple of people ask me how did you not have this issue, and that's how. But should Apple have known this? Absolutely. I mean, I don't see this as a huge bug.
Agreed.
I see it as an oops that we forgot about that.
Yeah, but it just seems like it's a silly thing for them not to have tested because, like I said, that's how the vast majority of people are going to, whether it's secure or not, it's a fact. That's how many of us will access our various Wi-Fi networks, is at Starbucks, at McDonald's, at BC Ferries, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses for
I understand.
For Apple trying to do that, but I just don't see it as it's not like, oh shit, we should never have released this device because this is a showstopper. Yeah. They'll come out with an update, and if the watch detects that there's some kind of thing going on, whatever it is, it'll disconnect automatically and go straight to cellular.
Were there any other features of the new Apple Watch that are especially interesting, that are specific to the Apple Watch? It seems like cellular is really the only really interesting new feature of the Apple Watch.
I mean, the processor is 70% faster than
Sure,
before.
sure.
You know, that's interesting. Siri speaks now, which is kind of interesting because you can get, audio feedback.
Yeah.
There's the way that the new workouts go is really good because it has what is it, the barometric thing,
Yeah.
but that will register elevation, so you get more credit for uphill type workouts, which is important for a lot of different workouts. So that's good. They just did a lot of different things to this watch to make it better. And we know that people use this for fitness quite a bit.
Yeah.
And the fact that the health monitor is the most used health monitor in the world, we know that people use it for that. So there's a lot of different things in this release that make it a great release.
The one of the things that you said in just now, but also in your review at loopinsight.com, Apple Watch Series 3 comes with an S3 dual-core processor. Apple says it's up to 70% faster. It feels like the new features of Apple are only using 25% of that. It feels like the rest of that percentage is for... You okay? Okay, that you did on purpose.
I'm fine. Why?
But it feels like it's very typical of Apple to put this stuff into the present watch for the future abilities of it. It really feels like Apple's got so much more coming when it comes to the Apple Watch. This is just a small peak. I think there's a lot more health aspects to this. I think there's a lot more fitness aspects to this, a lot more connected device aspects to this that I think Apple is going to come out with. I really believe that we're going to see within 2 years, Apple is going to sell you a Apple Watch door lock. So you walk up to your house with your groceries in your hand and you don't got to get your keys out. You'll be able to do that from your Apple Watch.
Well, you can unlock your house and stuff now from your iPhone. So,
but I mean, without taking it out of your pocket.
Yeah, I know. That would be very cool.
And so, you know what I mean? I mean, it feels like that the processor is a lot more powerful than what the watch needs it to be right now, and that these new features and new things will come out in the next version of the Apple Watch. I don't think Apple's getting nearly enough credit for their chip design and for their chip development. Something we did not know about 5 years ago, that Apple's going to go down this path.
And that's something that's truly incredible.
It really is.
When you look at that design. Now, why is Apple able to do so much more than the competition right now? Well, a lot of it is because of the chip design.
That's right.
Because they have their own chips. I mean, this isn't like the old days of Motorola versus Intel.
Yep.
Apple versus Mac.
Yep.
This is Apple. They are making their own stuff. Their own GPU, everything.
That being said, do you think it's noteworthy that Apple hasn't designed their own chip for their Macintoshes, for their MacBooks, and for their iMacs?
I wouldn't rule that out in the future.
Neither would I. Yeah.
I
think this might be baby steps. Doing it for the Beats wireless headphones, for the Apple Watch, for the iPhone. These are baby steps while Apple learns how to do this, and at some point, again, inside the next 2 years, we're going to see an iMac. We're going to see a MacBook Pro with an Apple-designed chip inside of it.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't rule that out, because you just don't know what they're capable of doing. Yep. You don't know that they don't have those chips right now running in Macs on campus.
Yeah, no kidding. Let's move on to the review of the iPhone 8 and iPhone 8 Plus. Was there anything? Obviously, there's a lot of interesting things in the iPhone 8 and iPhone 8 Plus. Was there anything that particularly surprised you about either one of those two machines?
Oh God, I think the cameras certainly were were impressive.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that Apple does all this research to get into portrait lighting, you know, I mean, that's pretty incredible. And what's even more incredible about that is that you can change the portrait lighting after you take a picture.
Yes.
So
It saves all that data. Yeah.
yeah. So I take a picture of you, which I would never do.
No.
But I take a portrait of you. The background is all blurred. Everything looks beautiful, and which would never happen. I'm taking the picture, but you know, all of this happens, and then I save the picture, and I decide afterwards, you know what? I really don't like that portrait lighting effect. I want to change it. You just go in to your photos, tap on the picture, and the portrait lighting thing shows up on the bottom, and you change it. But the other thing that it'll do, the depth mapping is so sophisticated that if you change it to, what is it, stage lighting?
Yeah.
It will completely remove the background.
Yeah.
And it's perfect when it does it. It's amazing.
Do you think that well, first of all, the funniest thing I saw in all the reviews, that Jim's was the only review I can remember seeing that talks about the camera and portrait mode and background blurring and all that kind of stuff, doesn't include a portrait picture in his review. And why is that, Jim?
Because I suck.
See, I'm hoping that with all of these new features in the camera for the iPhone, that you will start taking better pictures.
Oh, I try. I mean, I try. I do what I can.
Sometimes,
you know.
Less.
You know, it's just it never seems to work out for me. No, I did actually take some nice portrait shots to try out these different lighting effects.
Yeah. And
it was remarkable. It really was, because now if you just take a regular picture,
yes.
Here's something for the people like me that can't take pictures to try. Just take a normal picture, then go into portrait mode, just normal portrait mode.
Yep.
Then go into portrait mode and change the lighting, and it is remarkable what your original picture looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Then portrait mode, then each lighting effect. It completely changes. I mean, some of it's very subtle, but it completely changes the way that your picture looks.
But see, this is why I want you to post these pictures, because it gives hope to other bad photographers out there. You know, you keep claiming that you're such a bad photographer, and in fact, you quite often are. But I hope that this new portrait mode, these new effects that Apple is including, will allow folks who consider themselves to be bad photographers to at least take some good photos. That's why I wanted to see your photos.
You know, it's funny. I was at the hands-on after the event.
Yeah.
And I bent down to take a portrait mode picture of the Apple Watches that I included in the review.
Yes.
And you know Om Malik.
Yes.
Om is quite an accomplished photographer.
Yes, he is.
So Om, as it turns out, was standing right behind me when I was doing this. And when I stood up, he said, "Hey, Jim, you know that picture was crooked." And I said, "What are you talking about, Om?" He said, "Your camera wasn't straight."
No.
And I just waved at him like, "Get out of my way." He wanted me to go back and take another picture.
Yeah, of
no,
course.
No, I'm done. The picture's perfect. That's perfect. I'm putting it right in the review. And I did. I told him I'd straighten it out in iPhoto or whatever, in photos. I could straighten it out. But I never did. I just posted it as it was.
Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to know about is the feel of it, the glass. As I said on last week's show, the iPhone 6 Plus, while I like it, it's the first iPhone I've had a case on 24/7 because it feels very slippery. Gruber mentioned it in his post. I want to get your thoughts on how does it feel? How does the all glass feel?
You know, I was terribly afraid that the phone would feel slippery.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It doesn't at all. And I was surprised with that.
Does it feel like glass? I don't even know what that means, but I mean, does it feel significantly different from the iPhone 7 or the iPhone 6?
It feels smoother because it's not aluminium.
Yeah. It's not what?
Aluminium.
It's aluminum. You're Canadian. Aluminium.
So it feels different because it's not that, that metal feel.
Yep.
So, yeah, there is a different feel to it. It feels very smooth, but it does not feel slippery.
Yeah, Gruber mentioned because it's glass, it feels a little tackier than the aluminum ones. So.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
It almost feels a little tacky, but not, like your fingers are sticking or anything. But it's not slippery at all. And I was surprised with that. I expected it to be slippery.
And you weren't hugely impressed in your review by wireless charging.
I think if you look at wireless charging like I did at the bottom part of that section, then you would be impressed with wireless charging.
Yeah.
But I have a fast charging system. So I plug mine in, and within an hour, I'm done. It's full. So, and with this, wireless charging does the charge based on the same wattage that little plug that comes with your phone does. So 5 watts.
Yep.
Well, the one that I use is 29 watts, I think.
Yep.
So that's what I'm used to. If I'm working all day and I'm going out to meet some friends for a drink, which happens, before breakfast most days, and I plug in, I have a half an hour, and the phone's 50%, or lower. I can plug my phone in and have close to a full charge by the time I leave.
Yep.
If not a completely full charge.
Yep.
So that's what I'm used to. I set my phone down on the wireless charger, and it's charged maybe 20% or something, if that. So I was disappointed with it at first, but then I realized, okay, you're always putting your phone down.
Yeah.
And every time you put it down on the charger.
Yeah.
So when I started to get my mind around that, and that's the way that I worked, then my phone was always charged.
Yep.
Because I would pick it up, I would, listen to some music, I would, walk around and I would, send a couple texts or whatever, make fun of people, all that kind of stuff that I normally do. And then when I put it down, instead of just putting it on the table, I would just set it down on the charger.
Yeah.
Well, the next time I went to pick it up, it was fully charged.
I think
it's always fully charged.
I think that's the issue, is managing the expectations of what wireless charging is. I think too many people think that wireless charging will be just like plugging it into a 25 watt iPad charger. You'll get a full charge in half an hour. No,
right.
This is inductive charging. This is like a trickle charge. It will top up if you're already close, but it will not do a full charge in half an hour.
It's the exact same charge as the 5 watt adapter that comes with the phone.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's, for most people, they will just use the charger that comes with the phone.
Yep.
So they're not going to see a difference. They will actually see better charging, because if they continue to put it down, it will continue to charge all the time. So it'll be better for them.
And
for me, I took a step back.
And as more of these chargers become more common, Starbucks has announced they're going to support the Qi wireless charging in the iPhone. As chargers get bigger, many of us have those desk calendar type things, but imagine your desk calendar is your charger. So wherever you put it down on your desk, it will be charging. As this technology moves forward, then this stuff will become more ubiquitous, and you'll be able to charge almost every single time you put the phone down. Someone mentioned something on Twitter, and also Ars Technica had a comment about why wireless charging hadn't quite taken off yet. It's in a lot of our toothbrushes, for example, but for our charging our devices, it's not quite it's not very popular right now. Do you think like a lot of other technologies, simply by Apple supporting the Qi wireless charging, that this will now explode because of Apple support?
Yes, I do. I really do, because Apple is going to not just support it, it's going to improve it.
Yeah.
So, that's like, will fingerprint recognition start to take off because Apple did it, but they did it right?
Yeah.
Yes. Will people start to look for that? Will facial recognition take off now? Yes. People will start supporting it in their apps because Apple did it and it's more secure. I mean, this is the way that things go. Apple doesn't do it until it's ready. And once they do, look out.
Now, Mo asked the question in our chat room. I want to clue this up for folks. Inductive charging brings up the same questions about partially charging any Apple device. Is it okay for the battery? What did Apple tell you?
Apple told me it was no problem, and I was very specific in asking that question, because I was always taught you let the device go until it's empty, and then you charge it.
Yep.
But you don't charge it at, if it's 90% full, you don't plug it in then, because then you're using up a cycle. And, batteries only have so many cycles. That's what I was always taught by Apple.
Yeah, that's right.
But I asked them specifically about that when I talked to them after the event, and they said, not a problem, no concern. So, yeah. That's what they said. So, okay, good enough. I'm taking these phones and they're going on the charger.
Mo says, I wonder if that's a difference in battery tech or if it's just a policy change. I think it's a difference in the way it's being charged. I think there's a difference in the way the batteries are being charged through a wire connected to a wall versus this kind of inductive charging. It doesn't do the harm to a battery.
It can't be a policy change, because if it was, we would still find after a year that all of a sudden our batteries were dead all the time.
That's right. Exactly.
So, and they would get some bad press over that.
Yep.
So it can't be a policy change. It's got to be a technology change.
Yep.
So either the batteries are better and the batteries react differently to being charged all the time. And the reason that I asked Apple that was because of what Phil said on stage. He said, just put it in the charger. You're at the airport and you want to top up your charge. Just put it down.
Yep.
And it'll top up. And I thought, whoa, wait a minute now. That's not what I was taught.
Because I know I've had my electric toothbrush. I've had an inductive charger electric toothbrush for 3 years now, and I've never had any battery issues. Now, it's a very tiny, small battery, so maybe that's it.
Yeah.
But
it's all relative.
Yeah, but I think it's the way it's being charged. That inductive charging is a different methodology of charging than plugging into a wire and shoving electrons into it that way. I think there's a fundamental difference in the way it's being charged. That it's okay to do it that way with inductive, whereas it might not be okay to do that with wired connections.
I don't know the reason.
Yeah. We'll find out.
All I know is that they told me that it was not an issue.
Mo also says, could you ask Jim to remind us whether his iPhone is his primary phone? Does he have a landline under the bridge?
I do not.
Not many people have landlines. I still do because it came along with my internet connectivity. But it rang last night for the first time. I was like, shit, what was that? It was the phone. Scared the hell out of me. The phone started to ring. Yeah. But my
iPhone doesn't even ring. I turned the ringer off on that. I turned I get visual notifications, but I get most of my notifications. The reason that I know that something happened on my phone is because my watch buzzes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So
you briefly mentioned iOS 11 in your iPhone 8 and 8 Plus review, and interestingly enough, you said I love the new App Store in iOS 11. I basically stopped visiting the App Store because it wasn't very helpful to me. The new App Store is a breath of fresh air from Apple. There is a bit of a stink with iTunes, the latest version of iTunes, and taking out those that ability to have my apps on my Macintosh as opposed to having to re-download things on a fairly regular basis. when it comes to the iPhone. Do you have any issue with that change in Apple's philosophy?
No, I don't. Get that stuff out of there.
No, see, I like having my local copies. I don't have unlimited bandwidth, so I want to be able to have
that's because we're old. That's all.
That's fair. I can no longer disagree with that statement.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, happy birthday. It was your birthday yesterday.
Thank you. I don't have a problem with that at all. I mean, ultimately, I would like iTunes to be a media player.
Yeah.
That's what I would like it to be. So the fact that you have iCloud backup and you have all these different avenues to back up your stuff. When I set up my iPhone 8, it was just so easy.
Yeah, but I'm not backing up 75 gigs of data to iCloud and Apple charging me for that.
Oh my God.
Sorry. I'm also not going to be downloading 75 gigs of data, having my ISP charge me for that.
Holy crap. Hey, okay, old man. Okay, get your walker.
It's not a matter. It's not a matter of being an old man. It's me being in a third world frickin' country that still charges us a fortune for bandwidth.
I have my only backups of my phones are in iCloud.
That's because you live in a first world country.
And when I set up my new iPhone 8, boom, done.
Yep.
It was done. Everything transferred over, everything downloaded, my apps were all ready, everything's good. I'm done here.
And I have no problem with that. But Apple does this to us all the time. They decide for us what is best for us without realizing that not everyone lives in America. Some of us still pay for bandwidth. And some of us don't have good bandwidth, even in America. For example, there was a story last week that 75% of people who live in Missouri don't have access to high-speed bandwidth. So this move hurts those people.
Okay, but they live in Missouri.
I knew you were going to say that.
I mean, they know. The people in Missouri know. They know. I mean, they're not surprised with this.
No, they're not. They're not. I absolutely agree.
So either you get a better example for your argument or just stop.
Just stop. Let's do a hypothetical here, Jim. We are going to put you in a corporate boardroom. You will sit at the head of the table. This room will be a sealed room. No information can get out. Everyone about to enter the room has signed an NDA and has promised not to discuss what is about to happen in this room, okay? Mm-hmm. So there you are. You're sitting there with a cigarette and your coffee.
Hologram. Hologram is the answer.
Hologram, right. And
holodeck.
The heads of every major advertising group walk into the room. It's just been announced that they are blasting Apple for blocking cookies in the Safari browser. They say that it'll hurt the user experience and campaign targeting. What do you say to these men?
I just laugh out loud. Like I'm almost pissing myself on the floor rolling.
I cannot believe these asshats actually had the balls to complain about this.
They do.
I could not believe that they are so freaking tone deaf that they can't see how this is a good thing for users. It may be a bad thing for your customers. Oh, and by the way, assholes, this is your own fault.
Yeah.
I have zero sympathy for them.
Oh, I have no sympathy for them. And, I run a website, so, but I have zero sympathy for them. I mean, here's what you got to make sure that people understand. If you interact with an advertisement on the web, Safari will allow that website to track you.
Yep.
And that's fair because I interacted with that ad. Now, if I don't interact with an ad and it still wants to track me, Safari is going to block it.
Yep.
And I'm okay with that. So I don't get where the real problem is. If I don't interact with an ad, that means I didn't like it. That means I don't want to see it again on the next website I visit.
Right, exactly.
But if I did interact with it and I decided to buy something, or I didn't, but I interacted with it, that means that I was interested. So maybe show me some more of that. And I'm exactly okay with the way that Apple is doing it.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, my statement, if I was Apple, my statement would have been, fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't have been explaining what we do and all that. No, that was too much. Fuck you.
You guys know why we're doing this, so shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I have, like you said, no sympathy for them. And the thing is, this is not Apple and Safari blocking ads. It's Apple and Safari blocking shitty ad policy.
Right.
We don't have a problem with ads per se, but it's the way you present these ads to us in such an offensive tracking way. We tried do not track. We tried putting a little thing in the preferences that says, please do not track me. And you all ignored that. Right. We've asked you over and over and over again to stop doing autoplay ads. And not only do you do autoplay ads, you now do autoplay ads that track me down the page, you assholes.
Mm-hmm.
Even on websites I like. One of my favorite recipe websites is called The Kitchen, thekitchen.com. Love the website. But the ad pops up, or the video pops up at the top, and when you scroll down, the video tracks you down the page. Screw you.
I know. Yep.
So yeah, these
I have no part of that.
None whatsoever. And finally, we'll let you go on this note. I found this. Tell me if you find this just, again, tone deaf or offensive. The folks at Mac Observer, which is offensive to begin with, Brian Chafin, writes an article. Here's that Burberry coat Angela Arendt wore at Apple's media event.
What?
You know what the problem with that is?
I don't even understand what you're talking about.
Remember the odd looking jacket that Angela Arendt wore at the Apple media event last week?
Okay.
It was a funky looking jacket and funky looking shoes. And for some bizarre reason, the Mac Observer felt the need to write a story about her jacket, where it came from. Obviously, it came from Burberry. How much it cost? $3,000. Okay, but why did they feel the need to write this story?
You would have to ask them.
It's got nothing, but I'm asking you, is the story in and of itself offensive?
Well, it's not of interest to me. I could care less.
Not of interest. I'm asking because they did not do that for the men in the group. We don't know how much Eddie Q's shirt costs. We weren't told how much the pants were that Tim Cook was wearing. They single out the
I'm just going to guess $3,000 for everything.
For all of it. I just find it
$3,000.
I just find it very offensive that they chose the woman in the group to describe her fashion sense.
If you look at any show, any award show, they do the same thing.
That's
in
right.
The pre-show.
That's right.
For like 6 hours.
Yes, they do.
That. It just drives me nuts. That's why I don't watch any of those shows.
But they're not a Macintosh-focused website. And they also ask the men who they're wearing, too. So at the very least, they try to give equal time to the male fashion designers. Mac Observer didn't even make that attempt. I just found it really tone deaf and stupid of them. I found it annoying. I just wanted to get that rant in. I used Jim to do my rant.
All right, well, you got it in all right. That's
Folks, and talk to Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Hopefully sometime in the next month or so, we'll also get his iPhone X review. But right now you can go to loopinsight.com and check out the iPhone 8, iPhone 8 Plus, and Apple Watch cellular review. Jim, thanks for joining me, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Shawn.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, and so I guess I apologize to Jim. I was using him to go off on a rant. I just find it... is sexist the right word? I guess sexist is the right word. I prefer stupid because it's utterly pointless. It's got nothing to do with the event itself. You just wanted to show off that you could find out where the jacket was from. And then they did a half-assed job of it. If you're going to tell us what the jacket cost. What about the shoes and the pants? Do the job right. If you're going to do the job, at least do it right, you assholes. Don't half-ass it. And then, if you can do it at all, at least make some sort of vague attempt at telling us the price of the men's clothes, too. I don't know. Like I said, maybe I don't think I'm oversensitive. I just think it's stupid. Stupid. What else was going on? Oh. By the nice folks at Lowepro, Lowepro.com. Don't forget to send in your entry form. So you can go to the website at yourmaclifeshow.com. Right there at the top of the page, there is the Friends of YML entry form. Fill that out. It sends me a email. I drop your name into the virtual hat. And at the end of the month, the first show in October, we're going to do a drawing for 2 Lowepro camera bags, two lucky listeners. And if you're a subscriber to Your Mac Life, I love you very much. If you subscribe to Your Mac Life for $2, $5, $10, $15 a month, whatever it might be, you're automatically entered into all of our drawings. So you don't have to do anything if you already subscribe. If you don't subscribe, it's okay. I don't like you nearly as much as I like the other folks. But you don't have to subscribe in order to send in your entry form. So even non-subscribers can win prizes. I also was reminded by somebody to remind you guys that with the, I know I'm going to say it and you're going to get mad at me, but with the holidays coming up, if you're doing your Amazon.com shopping, we would appreciate it if you came to yourmaclife.com, yourmaclifeshow.com first. Click to one of our Amazon links, any of the Amazon links, doesn't matter which one. And then when you buy things via Amazon, we get a bit of a kickback. A fee gets turned back to us from the nice folks at Amazon for the monies that you guys use. You guys buy stuff at Christmas time or for the holidays. But an even better idea is you scroll down to the bottom of the Amazon list and you can see Lex Friedman. I'm just looking at it now. Lex Friedman's affiliatizer for the, it doesn't work anymore. Never mind. Forget it. If you want to do it manually, when you go to Amazon.com, just at the end of the URL, you can put in your Mac Life -20. That's our code for your Mac Life stuff. So anytime you think about it, if you're shopping on Amazon, you can just add a slash and then your Mac Life -20 to the end of any Amazon link. And that means that basically tells Amazon that you're wanting them to give a kickback to your Mac Life. Please enter the contest for one of the 2 Lowepro bags we'll be giving away in the first show in October. The very nice, and I'm sure devilishly handsome, John Cordick wrote, your tip about taking time to be a photographer really hit home with me. It's a great life tip. Thanks. Well, thanks for that, John. I appreciate you saying that. I also got that comment from Melissa, said the same thing. That it was one of those tips that really, really hit home for her. And it's something I do in my photography class to remind people that to become a better photographer, you have to be a photographer. I know it sounds silly, but I don't think, and this is my personal philosophy, I don't think you can become a better photographer accidentally. You can't become a better photographer just simply walking around with a camera in your hand while you're going shopping or while you're going to your work or coming home. I think you can become a better photographer when you focus on and practice being a photographer. Thinking about photography, thinking about photos, thinking about what you want to shoot, focusing on that, learning about photography, as opposed to it being a secondary or even tertiary activity that you're doing. To become a better photographer, you have to do photography. You can't just take your camera and wander off while you're going to the grocery store and hope you get a good picture. One of the things that I did when I was a beginning photographer, I literally said, I tell the story in my classes, I set up on my calendar an alert once a week that from Thursdays from 3 to 4 p.m., and it said, go be a photographer. That was my alert message. And it would pop up once a week from 3 to 4 and remind me to go be a photographer. And what I would do is I grab my camera, even if it was just my iPhone, and I would just go out and was a photographer. I wasn't going to get groceries. I wasn't meeting friends. I wasn't doing anything but being a photographer. And it helped me focus on the act of photography, the mindset of being a photographer. The other thing I did was I had a goal in mind every week, a thing I wanted to shoot or a technique I wanted to practice. And I would go for that 1 hour and practice that thing. And it didn't matter whether we were at Macworld Expo in San Francisco or New York, or I was in a different town or just in my apartment. If I was in the neighborhood, I just walk around the neighborhood. Just walk a couple blocks around my neighborhood. And I'd have something in mind that I wanted to look for and shoot. So one day maybe it's red. You walk around your neighborhood, you walk around the convention center, you walk around whatever, thinking about red things and focused on looking for red things. Or maybe you want to look for diagonals or circles or shadows or something. Pick something and think only about that thing. Focus on that thing. Because what that'll do is, interestingly enough, because you're focused on something, you're also looking around for it too. If I'm looking for red, I'm looking up, I'm looking down, I'm looking for cars, I'm looking for flowers, I'm looking for buildings. For some reason, I love red doors on houses. Whenever I get the opportunity, I will take a picture of a red door. Nothing's ever come of the picture of the red door. I don't know why. I just like red doors on houses. So for me, that's what I would do. I'd walk around my neighborhood shooting red things, focused on shooting red things. Another thing I would do is I would focus on a mode of photography. So in the beginning, I'd think about shooting just landscape shots. And then maybe practice shooting macro shots or flower shots. Another day I'd shoot action shots. So I'd go out to the street corner and shoot cars that went by. And I would do that for an hour. And then I'd come home and look at my photos and decide which ones I liked, which ones I didn't like, why didn't I like them, what was I thinking about when I did that shot, why didn't it work, why did it work. So you got to think about being a photographer. You've got to be in the mindset of photography. It's not a matter of the camera gear you have. You can shoot with your DSLR or a point and shoot or your iPhone. What you need to do is be a photographer. Think about the act of photography, about going through your world with a photography mindset, of looking for the photographic elements in your life, as opposed to accidentally finding them. You're going out and searching for them. You're focusing on them. You're learning how to shoot those things in that light. So some days it'll be rainy. And I would learn how to take pictures holding an umbrella. And one of the things that taught me was my camera had to be ready ahead of time to take pictures because I didn't have two hands to change buttons. So that's where I came up with the idea of think about what I'm going to shoot and then in the house set my camera up for that activity. And then my DSLR became a point and shoot because I already had the right aperture, I already had the right exposure, I already had the right ISO. All those settings were already pre-done, and I could walk around with an umbrella taking pictures. Or the idea of, it's around here somewhere. I don't know where it is. I've got one of those those glass spheres, the psychic glass balls. And I would walk around looking for places to shoot the glass ball. And so I'd put it on things. I put it on the grass, or I'd put it in the crook of tree branches. Or as I got braver, I'd ask people to hold it and take pictures through it. When I was in Toronto during one of these, there was these lions, the typical big lions you see outside of libraries, and I put the glass ball in one of the lion's paws, and then just took pictures of that because I was focusing on being a photographer and trying to see what kind of interesting visuals I could get shooting through this glass ball. So think about that next time. Think about setting aside time to be a photographer, whether it be half an hour a week or an hour a week or whatever it is. In order to improve, you have to practice something. The thing I teach in the class is learn, focus, practice. So you have to learn how to do the thing. You have to focus on doing the thing. And then you got to go out and practice the thing. All the theory in the world isn't going to help you if you don't practice it. And all the practice in the world isn't going to help you if you don't know how to do it. I often tell people that, I can explain to you how to shoot a basketball into a hoop. I can explain to you how to do a free throw. I can teach you the proper mechanics of where your elbow's supposed to be and your wrist flick and how much lift to put in your legs and don't use your arm, all that. I can teach all. I can tell you all that stuff. But unless you practice it, you're never going to be able to shoot free throws. Same with photography. I can tell you everything I know about photography, but unless you go out and practice that stuff, you're never going to become a good photographer. And that's why I was disappointed with Jim not posting pictures of the portrait lighting that he had taken with the new iPhone 8 Plus. And by the way, I don't know who it was. It scrolled by, but someone in the IRC chat room made a great point that all that, it's really interesting that Apple doesn't explain this stuff. But all that magic of the lighting technique when you do portrait lighting, stage lighting, that kind of stuff, that's just because they're shooting in RAW. That's the iPhone shooting in RAW and then using various Lightroom kind of presets to make those changes. It's not rocket science. It's not a hard thing to do. You can do that with your shots now in Lightroom shooting in RAW. But Apple has taken all that complexity out of it. They're not going to explain to you what RAW is. They're not going to explain to you what the file formats are. All Apple does is say, here, just switch this dial, move this around. I love that about them. They take that complicated stuff. I still remember the time when I first met Johnny Ive outside of Macworld Expo. I don't remember what I asked about, but he said something that was just brilliant to me. He said, making complicated things simple is really hard. And Apple's worked very, very hard to make this complicated process very, very simple. And you got to admire them for at least making the attempt. And I think they've succeeded. Because when I saw the demonstration, I thought, that's just camera raw. It's cool, but it's not the magic that Apple is, that people are trying to make it seem like. But it's still very cool. See if I got any emails from you folks I can answer this week. Let me go to Jason Painter in Sydney, Australia. The main reason I don't use a polarizing filter is that it interferes with my lens hood. I always use my hood, even at night. The filter is inside the hood and very difficult to rotate. How do you get around this if you do? I don't get around it. You're trying to get around a situation that can't really be gotten around, Jason. Your hood is in the way of your polarizing filter. So you got to get rid of one or the other. And frankly, at night, you don't need the lens hood. And frankly, I never use my lens hood. So, but if you like your lens hood, then don't worry about it. You're not going to shoot shots that require a polarizing filter if you like your lens hood. Or you take your lens hood off, move your polarizing filter, put your lens hood back on. That sounds like a pain in the ass. But frankly, you don't need your lens hood on at night. So maybe that's a partial solution for you. Does an autofocus mechanism exist that cats are not sensitive to? My cat always closes her eyes or looks away when autofocusing, but not when locking focus beforehand or using manual. That's an interesting question. That's a cool question because what it means is that your cat is seeing stuff that you aren't. Most cameras have, as MacMan very cleverly says in the IRC chat room, an AF assist light, an autofocus assist light. And on this camera, for example, let me see if I can't show this to you guys. On my Nikon D600, it's that little white dot up there. And what it'll do is it'll do a pre-flash or a pre-focus. And it's a very, very small beam of light that goes out from that tiny little flash there. That's what your cat's seeing. So when you aim it at the cat and do your half press to focus, that light the cat sees, you may not see it, but the cat sees it, and the cat goes, fuck you, and turns his head. That's why you don't see it when you're doing a manual focus, because that light doesn't come on, and why you don't see it when you don't lock focus ahead of time. So there's not a whole lot you can do about that. You just stick with manual focus, stick with that, or you don't say what kind of camera you've got. You can turn off the AF assist light in the menu setting of your camera. That's probably the best way to do that. Monty says proves that cats are smarter than humans. That's our starting point photography segment. Thanks to the nice folks at Lowepro at lowepro.com for sponsoring the segment this week. Again, go to lowepro.com and find the camera bag that best suits you. They've got camera bags for everything from little point and shoot cameras that attach to your belt buckle so you can go when you go traveling, to great big huge professional bags that'll hold multiple bodies and dozens of lenses. My favorite one, I can't get it for you because the cat's sitting on it. Speaking of cats, is the Lowepro slingshot bag. Unfortunately, it's the one I've got is what's it? Not out of stock. It's discontinued. But I love that bag. That bag, whenever I go shooting, that bag has got 2 camera bodies in it. It's usually got 4 lenses. It's got a flash. It's got bottled water. It's got all kinds of gear inside of it, and it's very comfortable. Slides across your body. I love my Lowepro sling bag. So go to lowepro.com to get more information about that stuff. Scott Thrift, also from Australia, sends an email. Says, hey, Shawn, I've just done the Watch OS 4 update, and god damn it, Apple, some asshat has decided to remove the ability for the watch to initiate and control music selection playback on the iPhone. Now your watch wants you to download music to it directly and connect your headphones to the watch. Well, that's great if you can afford Bluetooth headphones and only want minimal music available. Pointless if, like me, you have gigs of music stored on the phone. The only option to control the music playback is to initiate playback from the phone, and a now playing window pops up on the phone. But guess what? It doesn't freaking work. I called Apple support, and they have no path to downgrade a watch back to OS 3, and no time frame for a fix of the basic playback buttons on the now playing screen. Apple have really screwed the pooch on this one. Sorry to hear about that, Scott. That sounds very frustrating. I don't have an Apple Watch, so I can't test out what you're saying, but I certainly believe that what you're saying is true. And my sympathies with you for not having it work the way you expect it to work or want it to work. Michael Curtis in the UK says, a great review of the event on last week's show. I still haven't watched the whole keynote yet, but here are some of my thoughts. I've ordered my iPhone 8 via the update program. It's a shame about the price increase. I only went to a 128 gigabyte model last year, and I don't need 256 gigabytes. I had a quick look at the iPhone 10, but at £20 a month more, I can't justify it. As I say, I haven't watched the whole keynote, and as such was just looking at the specs of the 8 versus the 10. I was surprised how close they are. I expected the 10 to have a much better processor. I'll wait until next year when I think the OLED screens will come down to the cheaper models. I only got my watch back in January. It took so long for the Series 2 to come out, I thought it was a safe bet. Cellular does interest me, but my carrier doesn't support it, so that can wait. As for the opening with Steve, I found it moving as well. It wasn't so much because it was opening his theater, but more it was great to hear his voice at a keynote. As you say, I doubt we'll hear it ever again. Enjoy Australia. My sister lives in Kalgoorlie, 600 miles east of Perth, Australia. I thought you might like this sat-nav photo from our drive from Perth to Kalgoorlie. Check out the top left, next turn on. Folks, if you're watching the video, look at this. It says, next turn, 560 kilometers. Wherever he's going, from Perth to Kalgoorlie, it's 569 kilometers before another turn. That is insane. That I would not do that drive for love or money, dude. That's just the worst drive ever. Oh my Lord. That sucks. I can't imagine going on a 569 mile or kilometer drive with no turns. Yeah, better stop for a pee break first. Yeah, no kidding. Oh, Lord. That would not be fun. I got any other emails? Let's see. On my Mac, today's emails we get from... no, we don't got more emails. Alrighty, pause. I'll get to your email on next week's show. I got to go. Folks, want to say thanks, as always, to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com for joining us here each and every week. And thanks to the nice folks at Lowepro for sponsoring our Starting Point Photography segment. Don't forget to put in your entry form for the Lowepro contest. We'll be doing the drawing in 2 weeks, so you still got time to enter the Lowepro contest. As always, thanks to you guys very much for being here, whether you're tuned in live or whether you're listening to the archive. As always, I've been Shawn King, and you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!